Passivhaus. What is Passivhaus? Let's speak about Passivhaus at a glance and getting everything on one single sheet. So today we discuss our article Passivhaus at a glance, and like usual we're having our cup of tea and coffee to actually talk about this little coffee talk. So Julia, let me know what's this article about, or what are we having in this article?
Yes, Daniel. So yeah, as you said, we're talking about Passivhaus at a glance. And because last time we shared the whole Passivhaus standard document, and that might be a little bit overwhelming. Yeah, there's 100 plus pages. Feels like there's so many rules and regulations, and all in an English that might not be so easy to understand. That's why in this article we're sharing the one pager with you that simplifies everything.
This is as well like so crazy. Like if I remember back in, I think 2014, we had PHPP 9 coming out, because our standards are normally based on the PHPP license, the Passivhaus planning package. That's the software that we need for getting our Passivhaus certified. And every new software package gets a new standard out. And before 2014, we still had version 8. Yeah. And this version was a nightmare to work with. And the standard was only, I think, 20 pages or something. And then PHPP 9, the new version, that was like, everybody was like, yeah, that's so much better, so much easier. And then it was 27 pages. And I always found that a bit short for a standard that explains how to build buildings properly. A little bit short, 27 pages. You're not getting much into it. And what they've actually done is they had a lot of ISO standards in there. So it was really linking to a lot of other standards. So it wasn't a fully understandable document. But now this huge document at least has all the information in it. But obviously, if you're new to it and you're not a building physicist and building scientist, then it is obviously overwhelming. And that's the reason we put this one pager for you together and this little article that explains it a little bit better.
Exactly. We have to understand that Passivhaus is the most recognized international energy efficiency standard. And the beauty of it is that it works in any climate, in any location, anywhere on this earth. I think that's incredible. Whether you're in Darwin or in Hobart or in Sweden or in Saudi Arabia, it works everywhere because it's simple and flexible.
Yeah, and this is like crazy. And the standard hasn't changed much since. It has actually been implemented in 1991 by Wolfgang Feist with his first Passivhaus in Darmstadt. So if you think about it, he said, we're having this problem that we're depending on Russian oil, and we're not having the independence from an energy perspective in the EU, in Europe, in Germany, and that the money we're spending on energy in our buildings is so much. Like I think it was, what was it? I think 60 or 70% of the energy used in a building was for heating back in the day. And that was all gas coming from Russia cheaply. And that wasn't really, even then, not a most politically stable situation. And he was saying, no, we can't do that. That is too dangerous. We need to change from that. Plus, as well, the economics of it. So if you think about it, the standard hasn't changed, and it has never been done before. Okay, never done before. It's not completely right, but there is a lot of knowledge gone in from the solar passive design movement, and there's he didn't do it alone. Let's say that he didn't do it alone, but he was the first one that really pushed it forward and was the father or the heart of that movement. And without him pushing through, we wouldn't be where we are today. And that's what I find amazing, that this standard is still so applicable over 30 years later. And think about it. He came from a really simple approach. He looked at it like every human is different, every human is different, but every human is the same. Like everybody has the same core body temperature. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're living in Siberia or if you're living in Alaska. It's Siberia, Alaska, both is cold. Maybe one as well a hot place like Darwin. But your core body temperature is the same. Your adaptability is better for cold and hot. Obviously, if you're grown up there and you're used to that climate, but at the end, our core body temperature is the same. So we need to achieve the same outcome for everybody in any location in the world. And that's what the Passivhaus standard is defining, a clear outcome. And then it says this is the amount of energy you're allowed to use to actually achieve it. And that's the whole Passivhaus standard. And that amount of energy achieving is as well based on, I don't know if you've heard it back in the day, it's called the 2000 watt community or 2000 watt society, where we try to achieve with 2000 watt life standard. So that's like far back, especially the Minergie and the Swiss building standards are strongly based on that. But that's where we're at. Yeah. Any other thoughts from your end, Julia?
Yeah, so perfect. You explained that every human is the same, as in we have a similar body temperature, and that's why Passivhaus is saying we're all comfortable in a similar temperature range, which Passivhaus defines as 20 to 25 degrees. But Passivhaus is not only about the temperature and the comfort. It's like a health revolution. And Passivhaus defines other things like fresh air exchange, relative humidity levels, and surface temperature.
Yes, so like he as well realized that on one hand, we need to have this consistent temperature in the building. And if you want to do that in an energy efficient way, we need to make the building airtight. So instead of having air leakage and using that air leakage as ventilation through our buildups, through our dirty glass wool, through our dirty buildups and all that, like letting the air leak through, we first of all don't let the thermal insulation perform, and second of all, we are getting a lot of dirt into the building. He said we need to build airtight, but if you're building airtight, we still need to ventilate right, and that is what he said. We can't do that with natural ventilation. It's not sufficient, as the pressure difference between inside and outside is always different. So that's the reason why we need a mechanical force to actually move the air from A to B, from the outside to the inside and from the inside to the outside, to guarantee a healthy air indoor quality that he was looking for. And that's the reason we have as well this fresh air requirement. Then humidity. If it's getting too dry, we're getting our itchy skin. That's obviously not something that we want. And if it's getting too damp, then we are sweating. Yeah. And as well, the chances of mold growth are far higher. So there's health reasons for that as well. And the surface temperature is a comfort requirement and a draft requirement, because if this temperature between our surfaces and the ambient air is too big, if that thermal difference is too big, then the air starts rolling around in the room. Even in a 100% airtight room, you still have drafts, because you have this wave of cold air, like warm on the top, then falling down on the wall, going over the floor, cold, and then cooling down your feet, your typical cold feet and drafty. That's not what we want. So that's as well defined in the Passivhaus standard. So everything in there makes a lot of sense. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, there's nothing happening by chance.
Exactly. And then really what it comes down to, Daniel, so you've explained that we're comfortable, we're healthy. It comes down to that magic number that works everywhere. So that's what's also on your one-page PDF that you can download in this article. That magic number, our energy that we're allowed to use for heating and cooling, our 15 kilowatt hours per square meter a year.
Yeah, so 15 kilowatt hours per square meter a year for a heating load or cooling load. Okay, I'm getting now already really technical. So what does that actually mean? We're not speaking about the electricity that comes out of your socket. Yeah, it's not the electricity that we're getting. It's actually the heat that is coming out of your fan. For example, if you have an electrical fan, that's that 15 kilowatt hours per square meter a year. However, we don't want to use electrical fans because we have the dust burn and it stinks. And it's definitely not healthy, these little tools. So we normally want to use a air conditioning system or like a split system, with a heat pump. And soon we're using a heat pump. Out of the 15 kilowatt hours, we only need, like with a COP of 3, we only need 5 kilowatt hours of energy, of electricity, to provide that 15 kilowatt hours of heat or cooling. Both is a load. The one is taking energy out, the other one is putting energy in. And now that 5 kilowatt hours per square meter a year would translate in about 1 liter of petrol per square meter a year. So if you have a 200 square meter home and you have a petrol tank of 50 liters, then you need to go once to the petrol station per quarter. Would that not be great with your car if you could go only once per quarter to the petrol station? And then it's just 4 times paying for your petrol. That's pretty much as efficient as a passive house is. Yes. So, but that's only the heating side. Is there more to it?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, 4 times, that would be a dream. Now, the question, Daniel, I have, we said before that it works in any climate with the 15 kilowatt hours per square meter a year. But there's different climates, right? Like I live in Perth. I would say this is a mild climate. If someone lives where my family lives in Germany, it gets a lot colder. How does that work that we can all use the same amount of energy for heating or for cooling?
So it's exactly the same thing. What are your parents wearing in the winter, and what are you wearing in the summer? Yeah, that's pretty much what we do with our houses. We're actually putting a thicker layer on, a thermal insulation, or a thinner layer of thermal insulation. Keep in mind, the heat doesn't know where inside and outside is. Your thermal insulation works in both cases, protecting you from the heat and as well protecting you from the cold. And that's the way that the passive house actually works. It's just putting on the right jacket for your climate.
That's very easy to understand. Now, next thing in the article, we're talking a little bit about the PHPP. You've already mentioned that before, the Passive House Planning Package, and we're calling it here our secret weapon, which that PHPP, without the PHPP Passive House standard, wouldn't work that well.
Yeah, so secret weapon, definitely. This tool is a masterpiece of engineering, if you ask me. It's on one hand super simple. From an engineering perspective, I understand if you're opening it up and you see 26 maps at the bottom and think, what the hell? But at the end, it is super simple, and it has an accuracy of 95% to reality. Compare that to your national standard that has a mistake of 300%. Yeah, normally national standards have a mistake of 300%. This one has only a mistake of 5%. If you're comparing that now with our 3D modeling tools like Grasshopper or like other tools that are out there, then you're coming to a similar accuracy result for that building. This is the reason why it is so amazing. It has a similar, like 3D modeling can be better than it, but it already fulfills the ASHRAE standard for that 3D modeling. So we are in the range. There's only one point where it didn't fully fulfill it in that standard, but that's okay. So it means we're getting this, we are fulfilling the 3D modeling for energy efficiency in an Excel sheet. Like, how is that even possible? That's the brain, that's the intelligence behind Passive House. So this tool is a tool you should use for every single project because it tells you where your problems are. Yeah, Passive House is not so expensive because it has expensive requirements. It is so expensive because it tells you where your problems are and you then actually want to fix it. Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, at the end, the problem of poorly built houses or not thermally insulated houses, the problem is far bigger than in Passive House. But this tool is amazing. Why is it so amazing? Because it is an Excel sheet. So that means you have instant results. A 3D modeling, if you're coming from the engineering side, or even if you're doing your rendering in your architectural stuff, you press render, then you can go for lunch. And if you're lucky after lunch, it's actually done. With PHPP, you have instant results. You can use it as an economical optimization tool. And this is the whole game changer because the Passive House tool makes building more economical, and you can make economical decisions depending on your energy consumption of your building and your investment. You can actually say, hey, I put in better windows. That saves me so much. After X years, I have my return of investment. That's as simple as it is at the end.
So PHPP basically gives you the facts and figures to make informed decisions. Brilliant.
Yes.
Good. Now let's come back at the end to our one page that we've here supplied. Why does that change everything for the people who are reading this or receiving this one page? What's the real world applications of it?
Okay, so the one page that we put together is like Passivhaus at a glance. It first of all gives you all the health requirement. It gives you all the comfort requirement. They're two different things. Yeah, we look at health, we look at comfort. You as well get the whole Passivhaus standard with that 15 kilowatt hours, the 60 kilowatt hours per square meter year, the primary energy renewable, and as well why Passivhaus from a different aspects of what that is, like what that actually means, as well an overview of the Passivhaus components, often referred as well as principles. So thermal insulation, thermal bridge free design, air tightness windows, and heat recovery ventilation. So explaining them as well and how they work. So it gives you a really good overview of everything and how the standard works at one glance instead of looking through 100+ pages.
Yes. So perfect. Passivhaus doesn't have to be complicated. It is comprehensive. It is everything that you need in that one standard, and that's really important to point out. So join the movement and make a difference.
Make a difference as well. Remember, everything is difficult at the beginning. I don't know if you ever try to drive a stick shift car, and you have to change the gears yourself, and you have to steer, and you have to use the pedals and the brake and the clutch and everything together. There's so many things happening at the same time, and at the beginning, the first time you do that, you're totally freaking out. Yeah, but after a while, you see what people are doing. They're actually reading newspapers, steering the car with the knee, and having the phone under their ear as well, and driving. Yeah, so it is only difficult at the beginning. After a while, it starts to get really easy, and it's same than driving a stick shift car. At the beginning, it's like, what the hell? And then if you've done it for a year, it's like, yeah, you can do it. Please don't drive blindfolded, but theoretically you could do it blindfolded. You know how the things work. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. And what are we covering next week? What is the next
Yes.
talk?
Yes, the next coffee talk will be a really interesting one. It's called A Coffee a Day. And we're telling you that Passivhaus isn't as expensive as you might think.
Okay, a coffee a day. Sounds interesting. Let's find out what that is. If you want to get this in your inbox, you can do that via our website, that you go on Passivhaus Weekly, and you're getting a short email about the article, and then you can go to the article and consume it. Or you just click on follow, and by that you let other people know, help the algorithm to find it, and you will more likely see the next one coming up. Okay, thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.